So you can use LIQ 74 or the green stuff, which is actually stronger. This is medium strength. The green stuff is high strength. It's also by this company. You can use both of them, but I would recommend the green one just for it to last a little bit longer. So this is how you apply it right here. Notice it goes around this too and around that one. And then you have to use the special liquimoly paste right there for the camshaft, and then put it on the camshaft as well. It's right here, this special sealant. No, not sealant, I'm sorry, installation paste. So as you can tell, the valve cover is on. What you're gonna notice is this side is gonna go down all the way. This side will have quite a bit of clearance there, and it's because when it lifts the camshaft, this side lifts a little bit that way. So you're gonna have to start these bolts here slowly, and it'll slowly start to go down and down and down. So unfortunately, that's kind of the only way to do this. And you have to go in an even pattern back and forth to make sure that it sits perfectly flat on there. So yeah. So guys, all you do is you go back and forth and back and forth, and little by little, by about 2-3 turns at a time, you start snugging all these bolts down, and eventually you'll feel it like drop down a little bit, which means it'll lock on to this side of the camshaft. Okay, so also don't forget, see how much closer we are now? Make sure you put this seal in before you actually tighten it down all the way. And then see this little pin? That's the pin that will allow you to lock it in the front and in the back. There's one too, right there. So to loosen this, what you do is you start here, and then you go there, and then you go here, 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 and the final row is this. These two will be slowly go one by one. And what you'll start to see is the valve cover will actually start lifting, or not the valve cover, the cylinder head cover. Now what happens is there's tension on here, right? On these camshafts. So that's why there's this particular order to loosen and a particular order to tighten them back up. So when you tighten them back up, what you're gonna do is start evenly, and I'll show you the procedure. It's actually the reverse. So you start at the middle and then you work your way out so that this cover sits perfectly flat on top of the camshafts. So I just want to show you guys, this is the before, see that? And then this side is already done. So this is the after. What I use is some acetone along with a little bit of a intake valve cleaner on a rag. And then what I do is I spray some intake cleaner, and I take I think there's like a 2000 grit or 3000 grit, very fine sandpaper, and just go up and down until it's perfectly clean and there's no scratches or anything in the surface. The more time you spend on this right here, on this stage, the longer your gasket job will hold. If you take it off like this much, where all I did was take off the beads, the actual gasket material, and as you set it on top of this, it won't last a long time like this side would. So what I did was, you go ahead and snug down all these bolts. It's perfectly flat on both camshafts at the moment. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to take your torque wrench and you're going to go to 8 Newton meters plus, I believe it's 90 degrees. Okay, so you're going to have to do a tightening sequence from middle outwards, and I'll show you on a piece of paper. And yeah, as you can see, that rear cap is installed. You have to put that in before it's all the way down, because then it's very difficult to insert it. I'm going to leave this overnight after it's torqued down for the anaerobic sealant to dry. Again, this will not dry. See how it's coming out a little bit there? But that's okay, because it will only dry where there's metal to metal contact. So yeah. All right, so finally everything is torqued down. Once again, 8 Newton meters plus 90. I like to mark all the bolts after they've been torqued down so that I don't forget. As you can see, you're going to have some sealant come out the sides, which is normal. You don't have to touch it, don't do anything with it. Just leave it there. You don't have to wipe it off. You can literally just let it sit there. It's actually nice because you can actually see a perfect line of sealant along the whole perimeter and inside in that cavity. There's our plug. You don't put sealant, by the way, around the plug, only up to the sides. And that's it. Tomorrow morning, just a quick reassembly. You're going to want to do an oil service after this, oil change, new oil separator, hoses, and you'll be good. Timing cover, we're also getting a new timing cover. Perfect time to do one. There's an upper and a lower on this car. The lower is a little bit difficult to get to, so definitely do the upper. So timing cover is on. I'm still waiting for that inner seal to come in. I'm going to replace that seal before putting the actuator in. There's a tightening sequence for these bolts. Mark them in blue. When you tighten them down, the torque spec will be in the images to follow here. I believe it's like 9 Newton meters roughly. And then these I number. So I know you don't have to, but before taking them out, I number them 1 through 8. As you can see, 1 through 8. So then I know which ones come from where. You don't have to probably do this, but that's what I like to do. And then once you lubricate that O-ring, you're gonna just hear a click when you press in. So these right here are actuated by magnets essentially when the DME gives a signal to adjust the Valvetronic on this. So they should go in relatively easy. They are in recessed position, so as you can see, that magnet is not extended in any way. So they will not be touching the cam right now, or they should not be. So when you press it in like that, it clicks in very easily. Right? It shouldn't take a lot of force because when you turn the vehicle off, they should all be recessed. These bolts get torqued down to 5 Newton meters. What you do is you tighten them in by hand first, all the way down, and then use a torque wrench at 5 Newton meters. You have to have one that goes that low. So I use this one here. As you can see, we're at 3.7 foot-pounds or 5 Newton meters. And I just use a little Torx T25 like this on a little wobbly extension to help with that. Connect your oxygen sensor, connect all your solenoids. Make sure they're all in order. Connect your coil packs. So for the high pressure fuel pump, you tighten it to 20 Newton meters. It's going to be a triple square 10 millimeter. And just go in through the side. You're going to go in that way, one on top, one on the bottom. And you have to go in stages. So you have to tighten it in stages. So you wiggle it in slowly with the bolts. You're supposed to have the tappet at the lowest setting, which means you have to rotate the crankshaft. But if you're careful, you don't have to do that. You can just go very, very slowly and lubricate that new O-ring. You have to put a new O-ring on it. I'll show you. You have to lubricate it so that it goes in nice and smooth. Everything's connected. Oxygen sensor. There's a clip here. There's another clip right here. Everything's nice and back how it is. There's one bolt there for the bracket, one bolt behind there for the bracket. Everything's back the way it should be. Line is on, coil packs are in. We put some new plugs in there. While we're at it, just double check everything before you start it. And then also you're going to want to do an oil change immediately after this procedure. Check over there for leaks. Make sure the engine runs nice and smooth. And next we're going to do an oil change. This vehicle also has a fault code for an oil pressure switch sensor, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to swap this one out as well. Here's the part number, made by Hella. It's located right here. Just take a 15/16 socket, a deep socket. You want to screw this. There you go. Here's your old one. Take the new one and put it right back in. Compare.